It's the NFL presidential address, and Kelly, it's our second last one till the end of August. Depressing, but hey, at least you don't have to put up with me for the next 6 months. There's still going to be a ton of shows, though. You're going to be in studio with all the guys every Wednesday. And somehow I'm going to bring you on to Morning Joe and the Pro. We're going to still talk maybe some NBA, a little bit of hockey as you're starting to learn hockey. But yeah, it's our second last show of the year. We're going to keep this one under 40 minutes. We only have 2 games to talk about.
That would be pretty crazy if we still had a 40-minute show with only 2 games. Actually, one of the comments from last week was like, you guys should do more stuff. So I've been learning more about hockey. Last night I had the Blues. I was super proud of myself. Right? So I was like just looking through the card and I was like, okay, who do I really like? I do another show with CBS and they were like, Kelly, we need you to start talking hockey. I said, okay. So I called a couple guys, got some notes, and I was like, I don't think this is right. I think I like the Blues. And everybody's like, you're insane. And sure enough, they got it done. So, hey, I'm hoping the first period overs keep hitting because I'm really enjoying those.
The first
and I'm hoping
Are you betting Chicago? Chicago over in the first period and Tampa Bay over in the first period have been absolute gold.
Yep, absolutely. Except for the Hawks last night. It was 1 at the end, and then they scored 8 in the freaking second period. Like, I wanted to throw my phone across the room. So, I mean, they're not perfect, but, I mean,
I think they were on an 18-0 run up until tonight, last night.
It was 24-2 is what it's been if you started betting it in the beginning. So it's been just absolutely disgusting. So for the guys asking about hockey, maybe me and Prez, maybe I'll get a jump on puck time here by the NHL playoffs, and maybe by then I'll know what the hell I'm talking about.
How did you do this past weekend? I went 1-2, Kel.
Fucking bloodbath, Prez. It was bad.
Well, yeah,
and then all the people reminded me in the comments. Yeah, I had the Colts. That was gross. Will Lutz's missed field goal, also quite painful.
I celebrated.
Oh, I bet you did. I mean, it made a lot of people either really happy or made a lot of people really want to puke. Me and Dave Koken were both on the Saints. We wanted to puke.
Okay, well, I had the under in the Rams game, and I wanted to puke because we had a fourth down and 3 at the end of the game. And a pass interference call allowed for Dallas to score in that game going over. And I actually didn't think it was defensive pass interference. I actually thought it was offensive pass interference. And I also realized that Dak just hurled the ball up in the air regardless. I didn't like the call, and it's why I lost. And then I had the Chargers, and well, I think they think the game is this Sunday. So I hope they don't show up to Foxborough this Sunday because it'll be an empty stadium.
That was a bad pick on both of our accounts. I had a teaser we talked about on the show. The teaser won, no sweat, so that was nice. Helped me save some face, and I had a really good basketball Saturday. So that kind of stuff will I guess, offset just a disgusting NFL weekend. So let's have a better one, please.
Yeah, my only winner was Philadelphia. And, obviously I listened to Teddy and Carm and, Koken and you and Marco and, talking about it being a bad loss, New Orleans being a bad loss. I actually don't see it that way. I mean, they were in the red zone with 2 minutes to go to win the game outright. Like literally outright.
A lot of people were tweeting me when it was 14-0. Are you nervous about laying 8 with the Saints? I said, no, they have enough higher powered offense. The problem was with the Saints, it just took them too long to get going. I again was more concerned with the teaser than I was with the side at that point in time. I barely had anything on Saints -8. I gave it out as my best bet because I can't give out a teaser on air as a best bet, unfortunately. So that was what I was mainly rooting for, but it was just an ugly game by the Saints regardless, and I hope the Rams go in there and beat them this week.
Which I actually think is possible. So with that said, why don't we get right into the card? I hand the reins to you. Where'd you go? Kelly! Oh, we froze for a second. Are you back?
I am back.
Good. Somehow we froze for a second.
You froze. I was still here.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, well,
Prez.
let's get into it, young lady.
All right, Rams at New Orleans, total 57, 3.5-point dogs. Listen, this is an interesting game here. Sean Payton, Drew Brees, 6-0 in playoff games in New Orleans. We know New Orleans is one of the toughest places to play. By the way, today's Drew Brees' birthday. He's 40.
Running out of time.
Tick tock, tick tock. Yeah, was Tom Brady running out of time on Saturday?
No, he looked great, but I'll tell you, the play calling from the Patriots was spectacular. I mean, they came out, they ran the ball, 8 out of their first 10 or something. They just put the Chargers on their back foot. It was really quite an unbelievable game from a coaching perspective. Will be super interesting if they can hone in on shutting down Kansas City's pass attack. I just don't know how they would do it, but it'll be fun to watch, to say the least.
All right, so the dynamic I'm looking for in the Rams-Saints game is similar to what we saw last week. Rams monster rushing, which is what I was against them in a couple of these situations, so I was happy they weren't utilizing Todd Gurley, but they finally utilized a running back, not necessarily Todd Gurley, C.J. Anderson. I'm kind of a fan of his. I follow him on Instagram. Really good dude. He kind of had a crazy year. He got cut by the Broncos, then he was with the Panthers, then he was with the Giants, and then he gets picked up and has a couple of really monster games. And I think he's been a really key opponent for that offense. He's taken a lot of pressure off Jared Goff. Plus, you still have Gurley. And then this rush defense that I kind of bagged on for the Rams last week. I did bet the Rams, but I said that was my concern with Ezekiel Elliott. They limited him to 47 yards, 20 carries, and a touchdown. So I'm really excited for this game. I know they met week 9, and it looked like more of a blowout on paper. Saints 45, Rams 35. And the Saints were up 35-14. Rams had a rally to get there, but this was just kind of I don't see that happening this time around. I mean, maybe I'm biased to what we saw last year, but the Saints I think that week off plus that week of resting players versus the Panthers just kind of took them out of their rhythm.
Yeah, and we saw it the way they started the game, and then they just couldn't be stopped. But, I find this game very fascinating. Let's talk about the total first, Kel. I mean, we have 57 up on the board, and it's a big number in the history of football, and it is a slightly large number even this year. But here's where it gets really interesting. If you look at the offensive stats, the Rams are second in the league in points at 32.9, so 33 points a game. New Orleans are 8th in the league at 31.5 points a game. You add that together and it equates to just under 65. In passing yards, the Rams are 280 yards passing. New Orleans are 252. Where it gets interesting is in the rush yards. The Rams are rushing an average of 140 yards a game. New Orleans a hair under 130 yards. So you ask yourself, what is the definition of these teams? Are they run teams? Are they pass teams? When you have a total as high as 57 and two teams run the ball 25, 30 times each, it's really hard to get over that total. And we saw it against Philadelphia. New Orleans looked outstanding from the second quarter on. They were unstoppable, but they also put together 12-minute drives. And no matter what, if there's one 12-minute drive in this football game on Sunday, this will go under the total. The question is, how long are these drives going to take? And if you delve even deeper into it, from a defensive perspective, I mean, Kelly, New Orleans' defense in the regular season, outstanding. And they're playing against teams, which is why Kansas City's defensive numbers are a bit phony. They're playing against teams that are always playing from behind. So, you saw it with the Chargers. They put up 28 points against New England. Was it a real 28?
No.
No.
was all in the second half and garbage time and trying to play catch up for a better part of the third and fourth quarter.
I mean, that's that's why when you look at New Orleans and you look at the Rams, their defense, New Orleans' defense from a point perspective, 14th best in the league. That's not very good. The Rams are 20th best in the league. But so many of those points are coming from teams that are so far behind them that those numbers are phony, and Kansas City has the same problem. Both defenses are better. I mean, Aaron Donald is a beast. Cameron Jordan is playing outstanding. The secondary in New Orleans is playing outstanding. And if you go back and you look at the games, we tend to have interesting memories as gamblers. We keep looking at the Rams-Kansas City game into the 80s. New Orleans against the Rams hit 80 points, Kel. But when you go down and you dig deeper, I mean, look at what these teams have done of late. The Rams put up 30 against Dallas. They would not have gone over 57. San Fran I don't count because San Fran gave up and the Rams were trying to find rhythm. They put 31 up against Arizona. The game would not have gone over 57. They put 23 up against Philadelphia. The game would not have gone over 57. They put 6 up against Chicago, and under 57. 30 up against Detroit, under 57. The last 7 games, outside of San Francisco, this team has gone under the number of 57.
Well, and that's because the books finally started adjusting as well. Like, we saw the Rams start off absolutely red hot. Same thing with Kansas City. Then we saw New Orleans go through their stretch through the middle part of the season. And once the books start adjusting on these numbers, these are so tight. I mean, I made fun of people last weekend that were so worried about the snow in Kansas City when there's no wind, and they rushed to bet the under. And in the first half, it didn't look like it was going to stay under. And in the second half, everything just kind of coasted. The Colts just kind of gave up. And I think that's something we see here. If either one of these teams gets off to a lead, the other team's going to be playing catch up, which means garbage time, touchdowns, which makes me not want to touch this total.
And strangely, I'm going to play the over. Because even though going back over New Orleans, 20 against Philly, 14 against Carolina, 31 against Pitt, 12 against Carolina, 28 against Tampa Bay, the worst defense in football, 10 against Dallas. Even with all that said, somewhere in this game, one of the teams is going to go up by 2 scores, and it's going to open the game up. And we've already seen what is Todd Gurley going to do? He's going to set up a 50-yard bomb to Robert Woods. What is Alvin Kamara going to do? He's going to set up 13 catches by Michael Thomas. Yeah. No matter how you slice it, I think this game is going to start off slow. And I think you should bet the under in the first half.
Wait to halftime and then bet the second half over?
Bet the second half over. I also like the over on the whole game. I think we're going to see a very fast-paced last 20 minutes because whichever team is down, they have the ability to adjust to a fast-paced game. It's not like if Baltimore gets down by 2 scores with 8 minutes to go, now they have to air the ball out and find some long, deep threat. Both New Orleans and the Rams have their deep threats. They both have Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. They have Brandon Cooks, and they have Alvin Kamara coming out of the backfield both as a runner and as a pass catcher. Somewhere along the line, this game is going to start moving quickly. I like the over in this game. And I'll tell you something else, Kel. I like the Rams in this game. I actually felt like the Rams were the better team of the two against their opposition. I think the Rams held Dallas. Like, Dallas's running game is as good as it gets. Yep. I think the second best in the league behind Seattle. They couldn't move the ball. And
that's another reason why I think I agree with you on this over is because if the Saints can't rush it. We know Drew Brees can throw bombs downfield.
Right.
And he will. If they stop the running game,
but
fine,
it's not
they're
only
gonna
that.
get our defense.
Because New Orleans is one area that is of major deficiency, if you will, and that is their O-line. Their offensive line is really struggling to block the rushers. And as a result, with Alvin Kamara being as dynamic as he is, we're going to see a lot of wheel routes. We're going to see a lot of screen plays.
Yeah.
And those plays will amount to yards because the Rams rush. They play a 4-3, not a 3-4. They have more people rushing. There's gaps in the second tier of their defense. So the wheel routes and the screen routes, I think, can amount to points. And it's the same with the Rams. I think they're going to try to set up CJ and Gurley, and I think they're going to get their yards. But when Goff throws the ball, he's not Tom Bradying the ball 5 yards to Edelman in the slot. He's throwing the ball cross field 30 yards to a deep slant that Robert Woods is making. I like the over in this game, and I like the Rams in this game, Kelly. I like the Rams in this game because I get a hook. I think these two teams...
the 3 in the hook is enticing.
These two teams are very close. They both have outstanding offenses and good enough defenses. I understand that there's a huge home field advantage in play here, but I honestly can see that if this game is within, 10 points with 2 minutes to go, whoever has the ball, if they need to score, I feel like they will score.
Yep.
I feel like their offenses are good enough with 4 downs in play to get that back door. So it's not only about the 3.5. It's about the fact that if it's 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, and I can get the Rams with the ball with 2 minutes to go, I'm going to get that backdoor cover. I like over the total in this game, and I like the Rams.
Awesome. All right. The AFC Championship game, New England catching 3 points of the Kansas City Chiefs, total 55. Now, this number is dropping. Obviously, it's supposed to be Arctic conditions.
Right.
You're from Canada. You know what Arctic means, like below freezing, which sounds absolutely and utterly miserable. Listen, this is tough because I had this many long lists of trends on why to bet Tom Brady last week, and I didn't do it. And I thought about, Koken and I talked about on the radio show with Teddy Covers that we do, the Sportsline one. Every single Friday, he said, listen, he goes, this looks like a field goal game. And I'm thinking, Kelly, you should try to middle this game. You have 4.5 with the Chargers. You could bet Patriots money line. And I said, nah, you know what? I'm not going to do that. Well, now I'm kicking myself in the ass. But Tom Brady, 20-18 in postseason, 8-4 in AFC Championship games. This is their 8th straight trip to the AFC title game. I understand Patrick Mahomes is special. I understand Chiefs fans are going to get mad at me all the time, but I get it. He is a difference maker compared to an Alex Smith. He helped break this playoff curse, but he's still, in my eyes, a young guy expected to go out there and to lead this team. He had no touchdown passes last week. The kid who had 50 touchdown passes in the regular season had 0 touchdown passes last week. And I know the final score, they blew out the Colts, but it doesn't matter. I don't necessarily trust him here laying points. Your thoughts?
Well, and not only that, Kel, you can't trust Andy Reid. Andy Reid is the Marty Schottenheimer of today. Oh my God, I forgot about Marty Schottenheimer. He used to be like on all the grocery store commercials when I was a kid. Well, the best regular season coach of all time, probably. Well, other than Bill Belichick. Yeah, I'm with you. You have issues trusting Patrick Mahomes and you have issues trusting Andy Reid. But here's the thing, Kel. I don't think even Andy Reid can screw this game up for Kansas City. The bottom line is they have 2 Williams boys coming out of the backfield. Both of them are doing great. Their running game is as good as it was with Kareem Hunt in the backfield. They have an incredible tight end, the best catching tight end in all of football in Kelsey. They've got the middle covered. They've got the slot receiver Sammy Watkins had an amazing big game last week coming off of an injury, who's as good a slot receiver, as good a middle distance receiver as there is in all of football. And they have the single best deep threat in the entire league by far in Tyreek Hill. So when you're looking at all the levels, you're looking at the single best deep threat in football. You're looking at a top 5 slot receiver in football. You're looking at the number 1 pass tight end in football, all 3 levels. Then you're adding a ridiculous running game to it. On top of that, you're taking a quarterback who doesn't feel fear, who doesn't feel the enormity of these games, and who is extremely mobile and willing to wait till one of his big 3 catching receivers is open. I don't know how Kansas City screws this up. Conversely, New England stunk on the road. And all because we saw a 500-yard game against the Chargers and an outstanding game against the Chargers. They don't match up.
I've seen two Patriots losses in AFC Championship games because I always knew I could never afford to go to the Super Bowl, so I went to AFC Championship games, obviously in Denver. But that's the deal. They're just not the same on the road. They've lost 3 times, twice in Denver, once in Indianapolis. Obviously, all 3 were Peyton Manning. This is just really, it's hard for me because you're right. You remember what you see last. And the Patriots, everybody left them for dead. They're old. They're out of shape. They're slow. Tom Brady's 41. And they sure looked awesome last week. I think them catching points, just the line alone, screams bet the Patriots, which is why I won't. But like I said, I may end up maybe on the total of this one before kick. I don't know. I don't think I might not even play this one.
Look, I don't want to bet against Tom Brady. It pains me. And I haven't bet against Tom Brady in years. And then I went and bet against him last week for the first time, and it bit me. I really like the over in this game, Kel. I like the over in this game because even though I think I'm positive that New England is going to take advantage of Kansas City's rush D, 27th in the league, one of the worst rush defenses in football, I think New England will slow the game down, and I think New England will run the ball a lot. But I know Kansas City is going to score. I know they're going to put up 24 to 28 points. Even 31
so maybe
points.
Like a Kansas City team total type bet?
I like a Kansas City team total, but again, I like the under. Right, I like the under in the first half in this game because I know New England is going to come out, and on that first drive, if they do end up scoring, it's going to be a 9-minute
the team
drive.
Totals aren't out yet, but I think that would be rather interesting is to bet a Chiefs team total as opposed to Chiefs -3.
Probably be somewhere around 26 if I had to guess.
Yeah, total right now is 54.5.
Yeah,
like I said, it just keeps dropping.
26 and 28. But I like the under in the first half in this game. I like the over in the second half, and I like the over on this game. And Kel, I do lean towards Kansas City here because I look at it and I know Brady is better than Mahomes over his career, but I can't say he's better than Mahomes this year. I know unequivocally that Kelsey is a better pass tight end this year than Gronk. Unequivocally.
True. Gronk's talking about retiring at the end of this year.
Yeah. I know for sure that Sammy Watkins is at least as good as Edelman. And I know
Edelman looks good.
I agree.
Oh,
but who's their Tyreek Hill?
They don't have one.
And that's a big deal because he stretches the field. He makes that free safety play 30 yards back on the line. Yeah. That then sets up the run game, and we've seen it. Is Kareem Hunt the greatest runner of all time? I don't know. Some guy named Darnell Williams put up 140 last week.
Damian Williams.
That guy too.
That guy.
There you go. I barely know their names.
Well, that's the point. I mean, those guys were second, third, fourth stringers practice squad guys.
So is it Kareem Hunt, or is it their O-line, or is it the Tariq Hill?
Yeah, you do need to give some credit to their O-line.
You've got Tariq Hill taking the free safety all the way back 30 yards on every play. You've got Kelsey going into the middle of the field, taking the strong safety out of play on every single down. Then you have Sammy Watkins. The whole field is open.
Do you make anything of, I know you're never supposed to take this into equation, but of how they played the last time? When did they play?
Each other when it was 44-41 or whatever it was?
No, it's 43-40, but you have to remember, I had the Pats -3 here, -3.5, and they were up 24-9 at half, and I was just like, cool, this is great. And then the Chiefs have this big rally back.
Yeah, I don't care what they did last game.
Okay, but it was the first game that we saw Mahomes kind of get exposed. He threw 2 interceptions. And I'm just kind of wondering if maybe Belichick has a better read on Patrick Mahomes than other coaches.
Belichick has a better read on everybody than other coaches.
I know.
So that's a foregone conclusion. I mean, how can a team with a 58-year-old quarterback, no deep threat, a tight end who can't function, a wide receiver who can't catch the ball past 15 yards, running backs that nobody have heard of, an offensive line that you can't name, a defense without one single pass rusher, a defense without a secondary star? How can they be in this spot if Belichick didn't have a handle better than everyone else?
All signs point to betting the Chiefs here on paper. If you take... Besides the better quarterback, like you said, do you think Tom Brady's a better quarterback? Maybe not here. Maybe not against Patrick Mahomes.
And the craziest thing is, maybe not at the end of Patrick Mahomes' career either.
I mean, there's so much, but I definitely give Belichick the coaching edge here over Andy Reid.
No doubt.
Let's put Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes even.
I don't know if it matters, because when you go back and you look at the greatest show, the Rams, Kurt Warner. Tell me who their tight end was.
No clue.
Who was Peyton Manning's tight end 12, 13 years ago when they averaged 35 points a game? Who was Peyton Manning's deep threat?
The last time around, Peyton Manning's deep threat.
Marvin Harrison.
Danny Trevathan.
Yeah, exactly. Harrison and then Wayne were slot receivers.
Oh, Wayne, yeah. Wayne for the Colts.
Who was Joe Montana's deep threat?
Oh, that's before my time, Prez.
Okay, so the point I'm making
remember Joe Montana.
The point I'm making is we haven't seen a team that has all 3 levels of their passing game so perfectly aligned as Kansas City. I can't think of one team. Who was New Orleans' tight end when they won the Super Bowl? Who was Green Bay's tight end when they won the Super Bowl?
Jimmy Graham was New Orleans tight end when they won the Super Bowl.
Yes, he was good. Marcus Colson was their rock star wide receiver.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I do remember that guy.
Yeah. Nobody.
Yeah.
When did Tom Brady ever have 3 wide receivers, assuming Kelsey is one of them, like this? You know, and when he did, they had no running game. Eli Manning's 2 Super Bowls. Who were the running backs? Who were the tight ends?
No idea.
Exactly. Who was Seattle's tight end when they won? Luke Wilson.
Yeah, I was going to say, I need to remember that one.
Well, he's Canadian.
Oh, that's why you remember.
This Kansas City team, I really believe that I could coach them to at least this spot in the season. All I will do is say, guys, go out there and play. That's how well balanced that offense is. And here's a statistic. They have the number 1 pass rushing defense in football. How bad is their D? Nobody outsacked Kansas City.
Yeah, Justin Houston had a really big game last week. Andrew Luck,
and
who
Chris
I touted
Jones?
he had this great O-line, was on
Who
his
the
ass
hell's
all day.
Chris Jones? Now I think he had 13, 14 sacks on the season.
Yeah, I wasn't paying enough attention, I guess.
I like Kansas City. I like the over. So let's just summarize, Kel. I like the Rams. I like the over. I like Kansas City. I like the over. We made it 30 minutes. I have a promo to give out. I should have given it out at the beginning of the show because we've lost so many people along the way, but whatever the case may be. Of those 4 picks, I have a 5-star, Kel. I'm 10-5 on 5 stars in NFL on the season. They are my highest rated play. One of those 4 games I love. I mean love. Like salivate over. And you guys can have it for $10. Head over to WagerTalk.com. Use the promo code PrezNFL10. PrezNFL10 or email Missy at WagerTalk.com. Kel, we're not going to do a show next week. We'll take the week off, and then we'll do a Super Bowl show early the week after. We're going to do a lot of props. We'll see if we can bring, you know what, we'll bring Teddy on. We'll do me, you, and Teddy, and we'll do like a big Super Bowl show.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to it. Have a great weekend, and I will see you in a couple of weeks for the Super Bowl.
Perfect.